All right, welcome, ladies. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk about one of the biggest hidden reasons women struggle with belly fat, cravings, energy crashes, and stalled weight loss, insulin resistance. And so the goal is to help our bodies become more insulin sensitive. But let's just talk about some of the truth that rests around our insulin issue. So most women think that we have to be diabetic to have insulin resistance. But the truth is insulin resistant literally just sneaks up on us. And sometimes it just takes decades for it to start beginning to show symptoms. And it absolutely shows decades before we see it in lab results. And if we could catch the red flags early, then we can honestly change the trajectory of our health. And you know me, I talk a lot about cortisol and metabolic hormones and reproductive hormones. And I definitely feel called to start changing my messaging around insulin and begin to bring that more into the light because insulin resistance is reversible. And in doing that, we can live a healthier, more energetic, more balanced life. So if you start seeing that in some of my messaging, that's the route I'm starting to lean more towards because I was not able to achieve weight loss looking back until I came out of insulin resistance. So I feel like this is super important. So raise your hand or this is being recorded. So just think about this. Drop in the chat or drop me a message if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right and nothing's working. And when we feel that way, that hidden hormone that we rarely talk about until it's already in a disease state is insulin. Okay, so let's dive into this. I'm going to compare insulin to a locked door and a key. So, insulin is a key, and its job is to unlock our cells so that the food we eat, specifically carbs, can be turned into energy. But when we are insulin resistant, the key gets dull. It doesn't work very well. The lock won't unlock it anymore. And sugar ends up staying in our bloodstream. And our body pumps out more insulin, trying to force it in instead of being burned as fuel. That sugar eventually gets stored as fat, especially belly fat, which is why so many struggle with that. So I want you to know being insulin resistant has never been about willpower. It's about hormones not communicating properly. And we talk a lot about hormone communication between the gut brain axis, and high insulin will act as this traffic jam. Everything gets backed up and nothing flows efficiently. And over time, it starts leading to cravings, weight gain, fatigue, being tired all the time. And eventually, and some of us are right now dealing with this, it becomes a prediabetes or type 2 diabetes issue. So, how do you know that those hormones are just not working well or playing nicely with each other? Have you ever experienced a 2 p.m. crash? Like you need coffee, you need sugar just to get through the rest of the day. That's what's that's like a mini insulin roller coaster happening. It's high, it's low, it's prompting these cravings. And all of these things are signs that your body is less insulin sensitive. So, literally, the goal, if our body is insulin sensitive between breakfast and then lunch and dinner, between those gaps, our body should be a fat burning machine. So, if we get hungry, that tells us that our body is using stored fat efficiently. But typically, we don't get hungry between those time frames. We get cravings. And that's the big difference around insulin sensitive and insulin resistant. Okay, so how do we know if our body is struggling with insulin resistance? Even if a doctor has never told you, there are clear warning signs. And like all things that I do, I love for women to really listen to their body and what their body is telling them. So, one big thing is going to be belly fat. It doesn't bulge. Insulin pushes fat to storage, especially in the middle. Another sign you're insulin resistant is that we have cravings for carbs and for sweets, and that spikes our blood sugar and crashes your brain. And then our brain basically demands more. So, I know like all the rage right now is like sugar's like crack or whatever the commercials are saying, and that we're addicted to it. it is that we have this addiction to our sugar, but it's also because our insulin is not effectively working in our body. And so if you've ever claimed to have a sweet tooth, because you can't stay away from sweets, not because you don't enjoy a good piece of wedding cake when you're at a wedding, but you literally crave sweets, that's a sure sign that there's insulin resistance happening. Energy crashes after meals. So food should give us fuel. And if it's being stored and not used as that fuel or that energy, we get really tired after we eat. Sure sign of insulin resistance. Okay, needing caffeine. So energy system isn't working right, and you constantly need to like wake up your brain and wake up your body physically. That need for caffeine, a sign of insulin resistance. Okay, here's an interesting one. Tell me if you've ever had these. And I used to have them, which is so interesting. I don't have them anymore. Did you ever get like little tiny skin tags? Like I typically got them around my neck, the top part of my chest, under my arms, in my hairline. I just had them weird. I didn't really get them on my face or anything, but skin tags in just very odd places. Those are markers of high insulin. Or even dark patches where you're just like, huh, that's interesting. And I'm not talking about the sun damage dark patches, because I have a little bit of that because obviously my face isn't shadowed over here. So I have, this just tells me, my dermatologist tells me these, if you have them too, told him that I just had a really amazing childhood. So I'm not talking about the skin damage, but if you are noticing those skin tags, and they're like the little white ones where you can literally pop them off and they bleed just ever so slightly, it's a sign of insulin resistance. I went way too deep in the woods there. Okay, trouble losing weight despite your best effort. You're eating healthy, you're moving your body, nothing's changing. Insulin is blocking fat burning. Hey, what about brain fog, mood swings, poor sleep? Hormones are on a blood sugar roller coaster and it is disrupting our sleep. So if you have ever been the person where you wake up like at 3 or 4 in the morning and you're wired but tired, what has happened is your cortisol has ran high, probably related to stress. It has spiked your blood sugar, and your blood sugar is the thing that's sabotaging your sleep. It's waking you up, and you get this wired but tired. So as I went through those, which one's related to you most? Like, let me know, send me a message back. Okay, so why does this matter in midlife? Whether you're menopausal or you have those symptoms or not, most of us are in this midlife phase. And why does insulin matter so much now? Well, cortisol and insulin, your stress raises blood sugar, which raises insulin, which fuels the cycle. And I don't know a woman that isn't stressed. Now, a woman may be handling stress well, but all of my friends are on the go. They're busy, they're scheduled. Lots of people depend on them. They try to be everything for everybody. They're the first phone number called, which is actually a good thing. I mean, as a mom, we want to be the first number out there called. But we run very stressful, busy, scheduled lives. And so it's this perpetual cycle of cortisol affecting insulin, and it just keeps going and going. Okay, so what about our reproductive hormone shifts? So specifically estrogen and progesterone, as we have lower estrogen levels, this makes cells less sensitive to insulin. So in midlife, we literally have this built-in insulin resistance factor that's happening. Because as estrogen begins to decline, we become more insulin resistant, which is why so many women end up putting on that 10, 15, 20 pounds of weight through menopause, but they didn't change their diet. They're still moving their body, and now they're just frustrated and they don't know what's happening. So they very well can't explain it. They go to the doctor and their hormone levels are normal for their age, but they don't know how to get rid of that weight that has just literally popped on. Like, how else do you change a very clean, healthy diet if it's already clean and healthy? Why else it matters for women in midlife is naturally our metabolism begins to slow down. So when that happens, we have less muscle, which makes it harder time to handle the carbs, which means more insulin is needed. But remember, we already have an influx of energy in the system. sugar that is now being stored as fat. Okay, so this is why most women in their 40s and 50s, they notice new belly fat. They notice mood shifts. They notice energy crashes. They notice that they're not acting like themselves. They notice that they don't even recognize the woman in the mirror anymore, simply because even though nothing else has changed, they're going through this midlife phase. So, have any of you noticed that your body is responding differently to carbs more now than, say, when you were in your 20s and early 30s? Okay, so you already know all the bad news. I feel like maybe that was too much in your face. So, what do we do? So, there is good news because insulin resistance is not permanent and it can be reversed. Your body just has to relearn how to respond, and here's how. Couple things: eat protein first at meals, it helps the blood sugar from spiking. That doesn't mean you have to finish your entire steak before you choose a veggie. That's not it at all. It just means introduce the proteins first at the meal. Um, Protein gets a lot of, what do I want to say, attention for women in midlife. And when it does, we think, well, that's all we need to eat. And that's not true. We need to make sure we're eating fiber, eating our veggies, because those things slow down digestion and they can help keep you full faller. They can help keep you full longer. Move after you eat. We are so guilty of especially eating dinner and then we retire to the couch to watch Netflix. A 10-minute walk after you eat helps lower blood sugar by 20 to 30%. Plus, it helps with your digestion. So, moving after we eat, even if it's 10 minutes, 10 minutes, we all have 10 minutes. Manage stress. Well, that's easier said than done most days. And, I promote a lot of products around managing our stress, around gut microbiome and helping heal and repair the gut microbiome, the gut lining, and give that good gut bacteria the support it needs. But managing stress, when we have high cortisol, we will have high insulin. So they will go hand in hand. And that's that vicious cycle again, over and over. The most underrated thing in the world is sleep. And we need to prioritize sleep. Our bodies work hard all day long. And the sleep phase of our day is the only time our body can rest and rejuvenate and repair and get us prepared for the next day. So prioritizing sleep helps restore insulin sensitivity. So it always is going to go back to insulin sensitivity. You know that we have products here at Amari, GBX Fit, Happy Juice, Mood Plus, that can help support blood sugar, lower cravings, balance our stress response, and help regulate our insulin. Okay, so out of that whole list, what are some things that you know that you can implement next week or this week after you watch this recording that you could start doing to help manage and regulate your cortisol level and your blood sugar? Even if you just pick one: moving after meals, prioritizing protein, knowing that you're picking one just tells you and your body that you're beginning to focus on insulin and repairing that insulin sensitivity. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I did this whole comparison around a pilot. Do you remember that? I mentioned that I had learned how to fly a plane and it's something that I really enjoy. And then I compared piloting a plane to losing weight and managing your weight. So I don't know if you remember that, but I shared it a few weeks ago. And basically, your health is like flying a plane. I know I might be reaching, but your health is like flying a plane. When I'm up in the sky, there's different winds up there than there are down here. And those winds can push me off course ever so slightly. In our weight loss journey, the things that push us off course are holidays, like this weekend's Labor Day. Maybe you've got big barbecue plans or an end of summer blowout or whatever it is. So holidays can throw us off course. Stress is only going to change. It's never going to go away. So that too can throw us off course. Cravings. But every time we get off course, if we do a small course correction, you can easily get back on track. So when I'm flying up in the sky and the winds are pushing me around, if I don't course correct constantly, I'm going to end up at a completely different destination than what I hoped to. 1 degree off can throw me, depending on how many miles, as far as 20, 40. Even if I'm traveling a long distance, like if I'm leaving Texas and going to Washington, D.C., I will end up completely in a different state if I'm 1 degree off. So if we're 1 degree off in our diet and we never course correct, we're not going to end up at our goal, which might be to fit into a great pair of jeans, to feel more comfortable and confident during intimate moments with our spouse. If we don't course correct, we're going to end up where we don't want to be. And we all know long term, we're going to end up with some kind of life altering health issue that really limits us from living our best life. So I promise you don't need a crash diet. You just need to be consistent, steady, and make course corrections to bring your body back into balance. And over time, insulin sensitivity improves. And then those small white tags that I told you I dealt with so much, it wasn't until I learned more about insulin that I realized I don't have those tags anymore. And I don't know when they disappeared. It's probably been a couple years since I've realized it, but we find things in our health that are so much better and improved. We didn't even know that that was in a relation to insulin sensitivity or being insulin resistant. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up with this. Insulin resistance is not a life sentence. Small daily shifts, your body can become more insulin sensitive again. And when that happens, fat loss will follow. You will have more energy. Your cravings will go down. And so will all the other food noise that seems to dictate the day. So this week, I want you to pick one insulin friendly habit to track, whether it's protein or after dinner walks or prioritizing sleep. And I have created, see if I can bring it up here. And I'm going to send this to you. And you may already have it, which is totally great. I love when I'm trying to like be all savvy with, let's see if it's this one. I am hoping I did this correct. Okay. No, I hope you're you're viewing the Improving Insulin Sensitivity for Fat Loss Guide. This is a freebie that I've had floating around the internet for a long time. I'm going to attach it to the bottom of this email. But it'll go through 12 different ways to help your body become more insulin sensitive. And everything we talked about on this call, it will be in here. But find the one thing that makes sense for you to start today. And then next week, add another. And the next week, add another. And over the course of 3 months, you'll have implemented these simple, super easy lifestyle tips to be able to help your body become more insulin sensitive. Thus, making you able to burn fat in between those meals. And oh, I left this also. If you're interested in doing the ultimate 5-day midlife reset, it is perfect for that woman, like literally perfect for that woman who is, I say my age, but my place in life. My children have left. It's now time to focus on me, and it had been for a while. Maybe you can resonate with that. And you know something's off. You're not 100% sure what it is, but what you'll get is low glycemic focused plan over the course of 5 days to help bring your body back in to insulin sensitivity. And you can register for this. We do it every Monday. So you pick your Monday and then we get to start together. Okay. I think that is it. You know, I love getting emails and texts from you. So if you have any questions, just reach out. And I will be sure to attach the insulin resistance sheet in the email down, well, I guess down below because you're watching the replay now. Okay, my friends, happy Labor Day weekend. I hope you have a blessed one. Enjoy your time, especially if you get that extra day off. My family and I are meeting in Colorado. So we are in Texas. We will be enjoying the cooler weather. Have a great one, ladies.